Welcome to 1 Million Cups Kansas City. The mission of 1 Million Cups is to lower the barrier of access to education, resources, and connection for all types of new and aspiring entrepreneurs throughout the United States. 1 Million Cup communities gather across the country every Wednesday to share presentations and make authentic connections. 1 Million Cup events are free, open to the public, and always have coffee.
All right, awesome. Well, good morning, everybody. Morning. Thank you. Thank you for that. All right. Well, welcome to 1 Million Cups. Let's go ahead and give Kauffman Foundation as our sponsor here. So they're responsible for us having this beautiful venue, the cookies and the coffee in the back. So let's go ahead and give them a round of applause and thank them for sponsoring us every single week. So the Kauffman Foundation works with communities and entrepreneurship and education to increase opportunities that allow all people to learn, to take risks, and to own their success. So they started 1 Million Cups. I think it was 2012. I'm looking at Taylor because she wouldn't know. The guy shaking his head. So yeah, so they started in 2012, and there are over 101 million cups throughout the nation. And is anybody new to 1 Million Cups today? Awesome, wonderful. Thank you for having. Kaluba is our head organizer. I think he's walking around. He'll make sure that he introduces himself. And if you guys have an opportunity, I'll show you all of the organizers later on, and we'll all look for you and talk to you guys after these presentations. So the mission at 1 Million Cups is to lower the barrier of access to education, resources, and connection for all types of new and aspiring entrepreneurs throughout the United States. So the way I look at this is there's two different pieces to it. One is kind of what we do as organizers, and that is for all types of new and aspiring entrepreneurs. So the way I look at this is that we bring them here, we give them a forum to present to you guys, and then you all pretty much do the rest, allowing them access to education, resources, and connections, and that's what the presentation is for. And then the 20-minute Q&A, and then we always keep this room for about an hour afterwards, and that's where a lot of the powerful connections happen after that. So you all do play a huge part in what we do at 1 Million Cups. You all are pretty much 1 Million Cups. So what we are is we are volunteer-led. All of the organizers are volunteers, and it's a national program. Like I said, there are over 1 million cups throughout the nation, and I think now we have up to 6, or it might be like 6 or 7, 1 million cups in Espanol, which is something that was just started this year by 1 Million Cups. And it is designed to educate, engage, and connect entrepreneurs. So pretty much everything that we just talked about on the last slide. And the way that we do this is through authentic connections and stories and presentations. And so that's done through, we have 6-minute presentations, and we call those stories and presentations, which we always encourage them, come up here and tell the story about your business. Let the audience know as much information as possible about you, your entrepreneurial journey, and kind of the journey of your company, so that we can get those authentic connections. We have a 20-minute Q&A, and it's meant to be much longer than the presentations. That way, we want to encourage those real authentic conversations and connections. If you're an organizer, go ahead and raise your hand. The organizers across the room, and so, like I said, I encourage everybody come up and talk to some of the organizers, especially the ones that are new to 1 Million Cups. And then also, we are always looking for organizers as well. So I think we have 6 on our team right now. We're always kind of shuffling in and out and switching responsibilities. So if you are interested, you can scan the QR code there, or you can go to the 1 Million Cups website. If you click on organizers at the top, you can go ahead and apply to be one there, or you can just talk to one of us after today. The guiding principles, I went through most of these, so I'll go through quick. Our goal is to support the entrepreneurs, and then your role, as we discussed, offer thoughtful, constructive questions to help the entrepreneurs, and then just to help the room kind of understand exactly where they're at in their journey. And when we do that, we focus on curiosity over criticism, collaboration over critique, and actionable kind feedback. This room has always been fantastic, and so that has never been an issue. The feedback that our presenters get is just phenomenal, and I'm sure we'll see more of that today. So go ahead and silence your phones. We're going to go ahead and begin our presentation. And also, while you have your phones out or you're thinking about it, if you want to scan the QR code on the chairs in front of you and go ahead and sign in, that way we can keep count of everybody who's here. And we'll go ahead and bring up our first presenter, Kezia with YummySips.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for this precious time of yours. I don't take this lightly. This is a huge privilege. I'm a nobody, but I'm here, and you guys are here to hear what I have to say. So I'm taking this as a huge privilege and opportunity. So thank you all so very much. I'm Kezia. Not an easy name, so I have to say it, Kezia. YummySips is my small business, and I'm the only founder and owner. To empower you on your wellness journey, to nourish and nurture families one veggie-sip at a time. The whole purpose of doing this is to educate people, because in many cultures, plant-based food is a daily norm, but something shifted over time. And so YummySips is born to bridge that gap, to educate people the necessity, the importance of a wholesome diet and not just focus on certain food groups, and to empower you with a ready-to-drink beverage so that you don't have to do anything, the hassle of preparation, making it tasty, because we all know veggies are not tasties, right? So all of that is eliminated, and so I'm empowering you by giving you a ready-to-drink beverage in your hand and giving you the experience of how it tastes, and also to help kids, especially. Well, before kids, it's parents and caregivers who needs to understand that early exposure of plant-based food to the children is most important, so that they can help them get into that experience of including plant-based food into the diet. So what we do, it is a vegetable milkshake. The name itself may drive people out of the room, but that's why I don't use it. But that is what sets us apart. You may have seen many products for nutrition purpose, but this is a veggie in a milkshake, and it tastes like melted ice cream. No one can see, taste, or smell the veggie in it. So it's naturally nutritious and deceptively delicious. The concept itself is very innovative and creative, and the taste is what draws people. The biggest challenge that we have right now is marketing. Marketing is what creates awareness, and that leads to the demand, and that helps us get an estimate to work with the co-manufacturer. What we have tried so far, I have worked with giants in the industry, like Tetra Pak, who is the sole producer of aseptic processing and packaging, where they align with my values. I want to keep this 4 ingredients and nothing more, just 4, nothing more. And their packaging gives us minimum of 9 months of shelf life without adding anything. No preservatives, no chemicals, toxins, artificial GMO, none of that. And then they have connected me to a giant producer of that same packaging called Amherst brand. But I'll cover the rest of that in the next slide. And so I have tried pop-up events, farmers markets here locally in Kansas and Missouri. And I've also exhibited at Specialty Food Association New York City. They organize 2 fancy food shows in a year. They call that as the NFL of food industry. So I've got the opportunity to exhibit there, and the reaction was pleasantly surprising and encouraging. I've also reached out to local SBDC resources and currently pursuing talks with University of Lincoln, Nebraska for a possible co-manufacturing relationship with them. The lessons that we have learned so far is working with those giants, their MOQ, their minimum order quantity is 480,000 units. I'm nowhere near that at this point in time, and so can't afford that, or I don't need that much of inventory sitting, even with 9 months of shelf life. And then working with a lot of resources here locally, it resulted in either they ghost me or they reject me saying no outside drinks. I am ill-equipped in the sense I don't have the kind of packaging for this to be in store shelves, even though the interest from the Specialty Brewers Association exhibition was so awesome. For example, Whole Foods guy said, "Thank you for delighting me with this." Those were his exact words. And even the chairman of board of SFA has said, "This is the best thing that I tasted." And there were 20,000 attendees in that show. So even though with that kind of experience, I cannot fulfill anything after that as a follow-up because ill-equipped with shelf life and packaging. That's the biggest challenge. So why I keep pushing, even though I'm a nobody and I have a beautiful product, but I'm ill-equipped and I still want to keep going because the drive, the why behind doing this is I want children to have a healthy lives, and today's children are tomorrow's generations, and we got to take care of our children and their mental health, which they're not doing so well these days, especially. And we cannot sit on the sidelines watching the decline like that. So as scientific studies prove that plant-based food is crucial for gut health, which fuels brain health. That's why I keep pushing. And so my biggest ask today is strategic partnership with people like you, who knows people, and giving me the connections and introductions to decision makers like nutritionists in schools or other people who make these decisions from the procurement team in different spaces, healthcare spaces, clinics, or schools, educational institutions, and in retail. Thank you so much for your time, and I'm so much more happy to answer more questions.
Awesome, fantastic job. We're going to hand them out for Q&A.
Hi, interesting presentation. I have a zillion questions, but they probably won't allow me to ask them all. So why is the ingredient, the key ingredient, a secret? At least it seems like it is. And you're going to have trouble getting people to consume it if it is secret.
At this point, so how I do this is I have 5 ml samples with me every time I go sell at farmers market, and I give them as a milkshake that is nutritious, and my banner also says nutritional milkshake, and so they come to me and I give, after they taste that 5 ml sample, then I tell them what it is. And for those who want it upfront, I do tell them what it is. So it's not like a complete secret. Because of the way people shy away from plant-based food, they want nothing to do with it. So if I go about saying this is carrot milkshake, this is beet milkshake, this is veggie milkshake, no one will come to my booth.
So the other question, if I may, is you didn't bring us samples, right?
I did.
Oh, okay.
I did. You all are in for a pleasant surprise.
When are you going
After the presentation, so that I don't steal limelight from the next one.
Okay. So can you tell me a little bit about how you're organized currently? Because you know you are not going to get up to ordering 480,000 units. So to get started, can you give us a little bit of an idea about what your plans are when you think you can start making some traction?
Yes. The best thing that is happening to all of us in this city is the World Cup event, where we don't really need to worry about shelf life and packaging. I do currently sell in plastic PET plastic bottles, and there is a week of shelf life, and so best choice for on the same day or like the same event catering need. So I can go about fulfilling those kinds. And that way the awareness is spread and could result in demand. So that's how I'm making the product at a K-State Innovation Accelerator Kitchen in Olathe. And I make however the demand is. For now, I'm selling just once a week in Saturday, Olathe Farmers Market. So I now have an idea of how much it is. And so on an average, I sell one bottle every 3 minutes. So like for four hours, I sell 80 or so, or so bottles. So I make 100 in advance, a day or two prior. So I don't know if I answer your question correctly or fully, but my plan is to find the demand in educational spaces or places where kids and preteens and teens need to consume products like this. And so if they let me give them a sample, and then they can decide if they want to have it maybe once a week as a lunchtime drink to them, to schools. That's where I want, like my heart goes out to the children, teens and preteens and kids of all ages, that they are who are not doing well cognitively. So.
Thank you so much for your presentation. And actually, I did taste her nutritional drink because I met you at
Union Station.
And yes, I really appreciate this. Have you thought about doing groups, parties, so anything like that with moms of young kids? Because it is true that we need that at an early age for the brain development.
I did try, I heard of the same suggestion before. I did try to reach out whoever is in my span. But the biggest challenge is people say we don't want outside drinks. That's one major thing, the rejection that I face. That's the reason. So I'm not getting access to institutions. Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Hi, Kezia. My name is Bryce. Wonderful presentation. Curious, do you specifically currently have an advertising strategy for ages 13 to 18 years old, specifically on TikTok?
I'm trying my best to have it on there. I do post short reels of people after they taste it. That's like the best advertisement that I can capture. And so I'm posting those videos maybe once in 3 days or so from whatever I can get in the farmer's market on TikTok.
Okay, I would encourage you to think a little bit maybe deeper on that. Believe it or not, that age range is much more nutritionally focused than I think we actually might realize.
Sure.
Especially in today's world, there's some very unique, fancy terms that are going around that are kind of silly to us, but it's known as maxing. It's a very funky thing. I'm not into this, but it's a thing. It's very popular right now. So it could be an interesting approach, specifically 13 to 18 on TikTok. I think it'd be something to really think about, and then maybe study the algorithms. If you go to ChatGPT, ask what's the best way to work the algorithm on TikTok, and really specifically gear it towards children who are focused on health, mental capabilities, things like that. There might be an angle there specifically for marketing. And then let's say you do make a video and it goes viral or whatever, and you get 1,000 orders. Does someone just go to your website? Would you be able to fulfill 1,000 orders?
I think I can fulfill 1,000 orders over a span of a week. Like in 5 days, I can do that. It's just one-person team right now.
So yeah, maybe think about that. If the goal is to eventually be able to do that, maybe start really thinking in regards to distribution. How can I ramp that up? Just something that you always want to, plan for the dream goal. So just some ideas for it, but great job.
Thank you. I think the purpose of talking to University of Lincoln, Nebraska might result in that, where maybe I can, or they can help me co-manufacture it on that scale. So that's the focus on that. Thank you.
Kezia,
Yes, sir.
is that the way you say it?
Yeah,
Kezia?
yeah.
Okay. Great presentation. And you're certainly not a nobody. Please don't say that. Come on now. That's all right. That's so good. But Hey, I'm not your target market, obviously. I love cream corn, okay? I mean, that, to me, that's like milkshake. But I do kind of wonder, I like milkshakes, but the sound of melted ice cream, I'm not too crazy about. Is it just me, or is that people really like melted ice cream versus milkshake? So if I was gonna describe it, that's my only feedback. I might think about that, but then again, I'm not your target market. Great job.
Thank you. Plant-based food is necessary for everyone because of the wealth of health benefits they offer. And so at every age, we need them. And yeah, the melted ice cream part, I copied that from people who tell me after tasting. So I thought that's like a big marketing thing that I can use to attract people. It's the taste.
Thank you, Kezia. Great job.
Hi, Steve.
So you've proven demand over and over. I've known you for a year and a half, and you've been out in the market a lot, and people love your product. What you need is money. You don't have enough money yourself, obviously, to grow this brand. So my question to you is, have you reached out looking for angels or some kind of investor who can back you?
At this stage, I would like to bootstrap it for whatever expenses that will come my way initially. I tried the CPG groups, consumer package group that is like the largest in the world, 30,000 people, who I met in SFA, Specialty Food Association in New York City. They do offer all of these resources out there, but strangely, most VCs and angels want to help people who have been $1 million and above. It's mind-boggling to me. At least I have not encountered people who are willing to help people like me at such an early stage. Everyone wants to help those who have their revenue $1 million and above. So that's a strange thing to me. I've not found people who are willing to help people at my stage. And I would love to hear options.
Maybe there's someone here today.
I just wanted to say thank you for the presentation. And I definitely appreciate what you do. I really do. Whenever my son was first born, I had a whole full-blown argument with him starting out on plant-based foods. And she was just like, no, my baby's eating meat. And so it's just this whole thing where ended up being a mediator. But I was always thinking like, this is the prime opportunity for us to set him on a course for mental and physical health, emotional stability, all throughout his life based on plant-based foods. So I just want to tell you, I see the vision and I think it's really beautiful what you're going after and not to give up. Don't give up on this. This is really important. And also to piggyback on what Bryce said, this is a new generation and they have that mind of, I feel like a big part of your struggle is the preservatives that go into those other shakes that can have longer shelf life. You're not putting in your food because it's actually the purest thing that people can get. And I don't want you to give up. Keep going because this new generation is gearing towards what you're gearing towards. And just to piggyback on what Bryce said, if you can tap into that market of people who are going off of the grid, getting away from the middle of the grocery store, okay, away from all the processed foods with the preservatives in it, if you can somehow tap into that market and find your niche, you're gonna find a way. So don't give up. That's my whole thing. Just keep going.
Thank you.
Hi, Kezia. Thank you again for your presentation. And your product sounds very innovative and interesting. I was curious, in terms of the nutritional space, if you have worked with nutritionists and brought them on board to validate your product as well. I think they could be great champions if the industry leaders and professionals are kind of coming alongside you and maybe hosting your drinks in their wellness centers. I don't know if that's possible. I know you said institutions have been difficult, but also working in the vein of where people are nutritionist specialists, I think would be to your advantage as well. The vision obviously with children sounds great. But I think you also have a huge open market to continue growing and expanding what you're doing just within the space of wellness as well. And I just was curious if you looked into or have any partnerships in those spaces as well.
I have heard of these same suggestions, like go to gyms and go to all these daycare centers and mom groups and things like that. But the reason I said I'm a nobody is because I don't know any other way besides finding people online, Google searches, and cold calling, and no one would answer. And even if someone answers, they would say things like, no, we don't want outside drinks. Or I understand that because they don't know what it is right now. And so, like, Frank, I don't like this example of Coke, but the thing is, everybody knows what it is. And so if someone calls about them, they would understand who it is, what it is. But if I say I'm YummySips and this is nutritional milkshakes, they don't know what it is. So that's why awareness is like a big challenge right now. People need to know, give me a chance to give them samples. I'm not even asking for an opening order. Just let me give samples to you, a small 2-ounce bottle, so that you can taste, kids can taste, and then you can go from there. I am working with K-State Value Added Food Labs for my nutritional facts information. I have that. But I've not had any success in them or sources or whoever knows them to spread the word. That's where I'm stuck. Whoever I'm meeting, it's stopping right there. There's nothing going beyond that.
Kezia, could you go back just a few slides to that's it. Thank you.
Kezia, thank you so much for presenting. And yeah, I wish I had an air horn for every time you said that you're nobody, because you are, we're all somebody. I had a look at your website this morning, and I love it. Sounds like you found a bottler that matches your values and can, works for you, and keep that partnership for sure. It sounds like your biggest hurdle is getting people to taste it, because once sounds like everybody's had a sip, they're sold. I didn't get the sense that it was geared towards children until I came here and heard. So my recommendation would be to find a way to get it in little hands. I couldn't raise sea monkeys. I don't have kids, but I wonder if there's not like a 3D maker out there, a 3D maker space that can do silicone holders for that, kind of adult formatted bottle, or colorful shrink wrap. It sounds kind of corny, but like, I'm a child of the 80s, and that's the deal, right? Put a clown on there, something like that, So anyway, I think that's probably getting people to envision giving this to your kid would be a benefit.
Yeah, I agree completely with that. I've heard the same feedback from another mentor from SFA, that the website is not telling what I'm telling in person. And that website, I built it myself. So everything is like my work, but I will try to hire a professional and make it do what it needs to do. Thank you for that. And the bottler I was talking about, that is who needs 480,000 units to begin with, and I cannot do that right now. So maybe University of Lincoln, Nebraska may be the key. I don't know yet, but next week I'll talk more about that.
I have just one quick comment back here. Hi. There is an awesome program. I don't know which side of the state line you're on, but in Kansas, we have something called From the Land of Kansas.
Yeah.
Have you gone through their program?
Yes. And I'm a member there as well, but nothing came out of that, sadly.
They have some really cool so as we get closer and closer to governor elections, everyone's trying to spruce up their homes. And so there are some accelerators and things that they're doing for food-based businesses towards the end of the year. So check back with them, ask them what is happening and what is coming up. And then at K-State, I know you mentioned OEFA, but actually there in K-State, they have some new programs for accelerators as well, just food-based businesses. And Famous Amos, that's a grant that's open right now. If you haven't.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, awesome, great job. Let's give a round of applause. And then we always have one last question. What can we as a 1 Million Cups community do for you other than word of mouth after we all taste your delicious milkshakes?
My hope and expectation is to let me have some connections and interactions with the right people, like nutritionists in schools or healthcare spaces where they already have cafes, even workplaces, they have vending machines in cafes. And I want to get my product on there. So.
Okay, perfect. There were a lot of questions that we didn't get to, so hopefully a lot of them will get a chance to speak to you after this. Okay, let's welcome Mike from LingoEats.
Okay, good morning.
Morning.
It's nice to see some kids my own age out there. My name is Mike Burris. I am the Executive Director of the Missouri Restaurant Association. Right now, I came out of retirement a few years ago to take up that job. I built and sold a few companies. But what I'm here to talk to you about today is a product called LingoEats, and it's something I developed on my own. I will tell you that I did give it back basically as a donation through World Cup to the Restaurant Association's Education Foundation. So other than a little bit of an admin fee that we make off the product, the money does go back to them. And I thought it was a good way for me to learn how the product works. So as you all know, World Cup is coming. The big conversation with World Cup is how many people are coming and what countries they're coming from. We know in June, we have 6 different countries coming here, and they all speak different languages and all have different habits. So part of my job was to figure out how we could communicate with them, especially if they came into the country and they'd had a limited amount of English. You hear me okay?
Oh yeah, I was gonna grab the clicker and.
Okay. Don't scare me like that. Where's that? Got it.
Yep.
All right. Oh, thank you. All right, I'll take them. My apologies. So finally I figured out what the simplest solution was. If I build an app that would allow restaurants to upload their menus and have those available online, that we could create a simple QR code. It's a public facing QR code that anybody who comes into their restaurants, they just point at the QR code and then they can translate it into any one of 30 different languages that they can use on their own. So that was the basic premise of the idea, and we built that. I built it. This has been a fun project for me because in a past life, I had a bank of developers and code writers that I used. This is the first one I built of this size that I used an AI agent. So it's just me and my computer. I really enjoyed it. So let's see here. So as I said, restaurants upload their menus. So the other thing I added at the very bottom there, because I already talked about the rest of it, is I built an AI waiter in it. And the AI waiter is the ability for the person to go to when they look at the menu, they can look at the menu. I should say that the restaurants can upload their menu. They can put the title of it, the description of it, the price of it. That's what the customer sees. The restaurants can add editing items like, is this a kosher halal or item? Is it vegan? All those sort of things, all the gluten-free, all those things. So they can search that up. So once they do that, then they can go to this and they can translate this to their own language, and then they can do those same searches. But the AI waiter does a couple of things. One, the concierge will basically, if they push on the concierge, once they're in their own language, it'll just basically talk up the menu and talk about using those descriptions and the items on there. It'll just tell them what the experience is. The second part of that is in the concierge, they can interrupt it and say, do you have any shrimp dishes? And it will say, yes, we have this wonderful shrimp dish that you can do. And
So we'll do those things. So AI's come a long ways and we really use it. And then the other thing that's really critical there is we also have, I built a translator. So someone can stop the waiter. And if they're still having a communication problem, which is obvious, is they could stop the waiter and then their own language, they can ask a question, translate it. The server can answer in English and then they can hear it back in their own language. So those are the basic premises of how this works. Well, that's a highfalutin statement. So what we've really found so far is we've basically focused on the local market. We did present it to some other restaurant associations to see if they were interested in it. And we've had a few takers, not very many. Mostly what we've had is local restaurants and it's still building out. I've been on that board since 1995. I know how they are here. So basically what will happen is around here, what they will do is they will use it. They will jump on. It's not very expensive. I think it's $34 for June and July, for example, to use it. But after World Cup comes and goes, then they'll be on to the next thing. And what I really think is, I think the product probably has better legs than that. And I think you could take this product and market it elsewhere. I think you can market globally. I think if you can be in Buenos Aires and you can search for restaurants and do those translations down there for what's coming up here, it should work the other way around. At least that's my theory. So that's part of the reason I'm here today. I don't know how well I'm following the slides, but I'm just going to tell you my story here. So right now we have about 40 sites. They're all participating. I expect that will grow in the next couple of months. What we do is basically we have monthly meetings and we encourage them to do this. We haven't done a lot of marketing other than that. And like I said, I think it should be able to travel a little bit. I think it's especially after they get exposed to it, if they come to visit. We think that 35% of the people right now is the going number, that we think about 35% of these 600 to 650,000 visitors that we're going to all see in the next 2 months are going to come from other countries. That number is going to go crazy in July, but it depends on who's in the semifinals and the quarterfinals, because they might be English-speaking countries. I think that the reason I did it this way and the reason I basically donated it back is because I wanted to really get good feedback, and I've gotten some great feedback from end users. You always do that when you're doing development. You get a lot of that. They tell you what's practical and what doesn't practical, what conveys and doesn't convey. So am I up? My time up? Oh, okay. Scared me there for a minute. So I think I hit the wrong button. Okay. So what I'm really here to ask you is, we used to come to when I was doing development like that, I came to Million Cups in those early days, and I always thought it was interesting to see how entrepreneurs were doing. What I'm really interested in, I thought I would bring this back to you all. What I'm looking for is someone else besides myself. Like I said, I came out of retirement and I'm going back into retirement at the end of this year. I'm looking for some other company that might take this ball and run with it. I'm interested in doing that and working with anybody. I'm not necessarily interested in putting my own money into that. I could hire a marketing company now, for example, and push all that out, but that's really not what I want. I want somebody else's energy and somebody else's skin in the game. That's really what I'm looking for with this, but I do think it's a good product. And I think I did bring samples, just like she did. And John can hand them out, and you can click a QR code, and there's an imaginary website on there, and you can basically interact with it. And I'll show you real quick what that is once we're in the Q&A. But that's the long and short of it. I thought I would just ask this group, because I always thought that was interesting back in the day when I would come here, to ask, what your opinions are. It doesn't look like I've thrilled you too much yet, but or I really put you in deep thought. But I'm going to stop right there, and I'll answer any questions you have.
We got about 15 more minutes. All right. All right, let's begin Q&A, and I'm also going to hand out some of these flyers as well, so you guys can scan the QR code and see the product.
To move past the potential seasonality of the World Cup situation, have you pushed it potentially to international airports where they'd be having, people from all over the world flying through all the time?
No, honestly, I'll just be real honest with you. When I go back to what I was doing before retirement, I'm going to go back to doing the things. Some of you may know of this. When you retire, you have a list of things that you want to accomplish. I'll never stop working. I love working. I love what I'm doing now, but it is a full-time job, and it's kind of like running a country club. They really want your attention all the time, which I appreciate. But when I put that down, I'm gonna focus on the things that I think that I've been thinking about for 60 some years about what I'm gonna do. And it isn't sitting in a hammock. It is doing a lot of other things. So yeah, the short answer is no. But I do think it's possible. And really, I've done just a little bit of advertising on my own, or we pushed it out through our website. And because they're benefiting from it, of course, we promote it. But it is very centric to Kansas City. So that's where we're at with it. I do think it would work, though.
Have you considered your price point?
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
Your price point on your app, have you considered it? Looking at it, I see that it's $19 monthly. What does that include? If I were to sign up for this app, once it goes hard launch, I see there's a list of that, but other than the language,
lowering it? No, I don't think so. I think it's a fair price. When we ask all the restaurants, before we put the price out there, we went and asked all of them what the price was. If they are a member of the restaurant association, it's sort of a way to drive membership through that too. Then they also get a discount on that. They get a 20% discount. So I think the price points are probably accurate.
that is your target audience going to be customers individually, guests at restaurants? Or are you targeting restaurants themselves to sign with this app?
Well, it's kind of twofold. Our paying customer is the restaurant. So it's the restaurant's advantage to put the QR code out and let them translate. That's how we, pay and perpetuate the app. The customer, it's all public facing. It's free. It doesn't cost them anything. There's no apps to download in Apple or Android. So it's just an easier way for them to talk, I guess.
Absolutely. And then my last question is, have you reached out with local corporate restaurants like Darden, for instance? Darden's a massive restaurant chain here. As an employee of Darden myself, I can tell you that if you were to present this at this time, they would be pretty interested. There's nothing in the restaurants like this right now.
I agree.
So,
well, Kim Halloran is a good friend of mine at Capitol Grill. So I don't know how they're considering it, because I noticed with Darden and a few others, sometimes you got to push that up pretty far, and then you get into the marketing team and they're a little skeptical. So, but no, I think it would. I think probably that's where it would go. I think it would probably, because they have a lot of international presence. But that's a great advice.
yeah, that'd be my advice, to start there and let them do the work for you.
Sure.
Interesting idea. So the translation itself is being done by a third party's app, is that correct?
No, we use Google actually has the best translator in the world right now. So it does access Google's translator as part of that.
So we're a month from the World Cup.
Mhm.
But it doesn't look like you're live yet. Is that correct?
No, we're live.
Oh, you're live. Okay.
Yeah. If you click on those samples, you'll see, but yeah, we are live.
Okay. So are you getting feedback on how well this is working for people?
Yes. Yes, I think we're kind of at this stage right now. This is an interesting way to do development. It used to be talking to AI is kind of like talking to programmers. You learn with programmers early on. You give them one thing to do at a time, and you don't say, use your imagination. You say, do this. AI is a lot like that. You sort of develop a relationship and a personality. And the reason I'm saying that is we've had a lot of suggestions. We built an enterprise level for this, for people that own multiple restaurants, for example, where they can just pop in and load one menu and shove it off to several restaurants and then do their own editing. That all came, but you also have to be careful, because when you do that, you might break something. There is also a slight delay when you use Google Translate. That it's kind of weird, but sort of every day with the first person to upload a language is a little bit slower than everybody else in that location. I don't know why that is. So I also had to go in there and build it and say, hey, just do this test every day and see if we can speed that up. It wasn't terrible, but if you're sitting there for 15 or 20 seconds, that's a long time for humans. So, but I also think down the road, it could be applied to retail or other sort of international locations. I didn't tackle retail because, it's very complicated. And the one thing you have to be careful, like, for example, one of our early restaurateurs said, well, can I put images on there? And the problem is if you put images on here, it really slows it down. It won't load quick enough. A lot of retail is very detailed, and it's much more detailed to run a retail shop with, 10,000 items than it is to have a restaurant with 170 menu items. So I was always worried how we would figure that out. There's probably a way to do it. I haven't figured it out yet.
How do you decide on the 30 languages that you support?
I took all the languages that would be in the 48 countries that are coming. So I went back and saw, what do I have to do to make sure that if someone uses this in New Jersey or they use it in LA, will we have them covered?
So Arabic and Chinese would be supported.
They're all there, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, if you speak those languages, let me know how the translator is working, because I don't speak some of those languages.
So there is a question.
I got a thumbs
have.
up back there. That's good.
There are unique terms that people might encounter in the States and especially in Kansas City. For instance, burnt ends.
Yeah.
Do you know how that translates?
Yes, I actually do. We run a translation analysis that reports how a menu uploads, and we look at every language that could possibly, all 30 languages. Burn-ins is a good example of that. Burn-ins doesn't translate in most languages. So in most languages, you would hear something in, so let's say Japanese, and all of a sudden you'd hear the word burnt ends, and it just doesn't translate. So it was but that was actually something we learned, is that there's just some things you just, that dog won't hunt. You can't go any other way than English with it. So, yes, sir.
Have you considered reaching out to, point of sale systems or people that are supporting a lot of these restaurants? Like I'm thinking like Heartland or Toast or Spot On. I would think that might be a good way to distribute it. It could almost be like a value add where they would add to their suite of services.
Yes, and I also I'm trying to get the attention of DoorDash, for example. And here's a really funny story. When I was doing it, I wasn't getting anywhere, and I went back to think Chat GPT or somebody like that and said, I'm not getting to them. And they said, well, try this guy. And that was actually the right person, I think. But, you also worry there that they go, that's a great idea, we'll steal it. But I'm certainly interested in that. But I think that's exactly where I'm going.
Pause. We need to make sure we're using the microphones because we're recording. Thanks.
Sir, this is a great international product. Congratulations on getting it launched.
Thank you.
I feel like you need some influencers to help drive the market. So I feel like major tours like Major League Baseball and World Cup is such a great case study for you, but the PGA Tour, NASCAR, any group of large amounts of touring people who are gravitating around the world and around the nation, go out at night and they need to know what's going on and what there is to eat. And a lot of these individuals are international people. So I think that if you could get some influencers from some of these tours or get to the highest level of these tours and leagues to help pitch your product, I think that these kind of partnerships can go hand in hand with DoorDash, because some of these people don't want to go out. They want to have their stuff delivered. But if there could be an integration of your product into a DoorDash type of app, that would be, probably your next step, besides getting all these different restaurant associations throughout the city and the world aligned.
Yes, I agree 100%. I'm hoping I can find someone else to do that with me. It's interesting. When I tried to figure out, well, if I was in Buenos Aires right now, for example, why would the bottom line is you wouldn't look at an app called LingoEats if you're going to look for something in Kansas City. What you'd be looking for is restaurants and things like that. So if I'm going to present it out to those kind of people, I have to put it in the way of a travel log. Talk about the restaurants and, otherwise they won't look at the app. No one's going to care about that. So it's just a lot of head scratching but I think influencers are great. We use them a lot in the last few years, and we never used it before, and it's paid off for us really well.
So the question I always ask for this type of business is, why not just Google or ChatGPT? In my own experience, I've traveled for years internationally and I've used Google Lens to translate menus. So what?
Don't tell people that.
When a restaurateur asks you that question, what's your response to them?
Well, I think the thing is I think, first of all, I've done that too, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't work. And it also doesn't really accommodate you when you're looking for searches, especially if you're using cameras. An uploaded PDF is far more solid. They can walk in there, and then again, I think it's the interaction with the restaurant and the servers as well that makes it stronger. We've got like a hotel trying it out right now, and they have on their lapel, they have their own translators when they're talking to the customers, but it doesn't work as well with their menus. So I think it has merit, and I think a lot of travelers don't normally do that anyway, but that's good. Yes, sir.
Well, while you're doing that,
I think
request new, on the influencer side, there's a whole industry now, food influencers. We have a bunch up here in Kansas City. But
Yes.
maybe something you can consider, content creators, food influencers who are out in these restaurants who are actually paying them to come there, actually to showcase their food. So you may want to consider that. Second thing is that, have you talked to Cisco? Because they supply all the food to the restaurants.
I did, and I've done 3 presentations at US Foods, and they have been kind enough to push it out. Benny Keith, same way. I don't know how hard they're pushing it, but I was a little surprised that we wouldn't have more like 100 restaurants around here right now. I do think that some of the stuff that's come out recently where everybody was downplaying the number of people that were going to come, it's sort of, you can just see the purchasing stop. But I think as we get a little closer, it'll probably pick up again. I mean, it's $34. You're not spending a lot to risk it for the 2 months. So and I've been trying to get them to do it. I go in there and talk nice to them and they nod their heads. And it's like Kezia said, you get a ghosted a little bit. But I do think they're pushing it out. I know US Foods has promised they would. So that's a great idea. By the way, I think the influencer is a great idea, and I have not used them yet, even though we do use them to promote our events, and I should be doing that.
So, great presentation. Oh, yeah. I've actually thought about this problem quite a bit. And I think you're looking at it as a B2C model where like the person coming to eat uses this.
Mm-hmm.
The restaurants, from what I've like kind of cursory research, and I think they're so busy operationally staffing up and preparing for just the logistics of the World Cup or just the busy tourist season, it just falls down in their list of to-dos, like the managers. But just like what you said about the hotel staff that have the translator, I think the opportunity here is a B2B where you kind of sell this to like the restaurant host, for example. The people who are working there as a way to build their capacity. Maybe they learn and become acquainted with the menu items in these like the top 5 languages, maybe not the 30.
Mm-hmm.
And they're able to sort of serve as like local guides, translators for people to come in. Because at the end of the day, I think the challenge is going to be, even with the World Cup, when they get busy, the server coming to the table, having to sort of go back and forth on menu selection, even with the translator,
mm-hmm.
and to identify what the person really wants, have them in and out so that the next person comes in, it's going to cause a lot of friction. And then if the person gets served something that they didn't want, or God forbid, has an allergic to, or something like that, that's just going to mess up the whole experience. So that's going to be really a matter of like seconds. That whole process needs to go. And I think the best way to do that is not by really relying on even the customer, but relying on staff and upskilling staff based on, this is a tool, you've done like 90% of the work. You have to QC the actual menu items to make sure that they're the actual best translation. But working with staff, the host, to serve as intermediators and maybe recommend things to people based on their knowledge of the translation, their knowledge of the menu, people's preferences, and being able to, and then show the data behind that. Like if you're able to get like 10 restaurants, you have your team monitor it, clock it, and then use that. Then when you expand globally, you can actually go to you need to pick like cities
that have the same dynamic, meaning really international destinations that bring multiple languages to concentrated geographies. So like the Paris, New York City, Miami, LA, and go to the restaurants there, and work with the staff at those restaurants. If somebody comes in from China or Argentina, you know what to sort of help guide them through.
No, I agree 100%. And on the backside of that, there's a dashboard for the restaurant themselves, and they have I put some marketing materials in there that they can, because one of the problems is, well, how do I put this QR code on? Everybody has their own idea of that. There's even a poster now that they can download and stick up there. The price is so cheap that I can't provide it for them. I'm tempted to, but there are marketing materials. But part of what there is an instruction on how the servers should. I think it needs a little polishing, but how the servers should approach people from different countries. You know, so 2 of the countries coming don't drink really, so we're not going to offer them margaritas.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and interject here because this gentleman is 100% correct. So as a current server in the server industry, I work at one of the busiest restaurants here in Kansas City. It's the Yard House. They're owned by Darden.
Yeah.
And so I do that part-time just for extras on top of my career position. So one thing to consider is number one, if you have not worked in the restaurant industry, you need to understand that the steps of service are timed. So that is going to be a dilemma in the way of using this app in order to have that time. Number two is most every restaurant, including the Yard House and other Darden restaurants, have the Ziosk. The Ziosk will include photo pictures and translation for those folks to already use. So it's going to be one of your adversaries there. I can see this being a really good licensing business for those businesses. Like he says, I don't see it B2C, I see completely B2B. But other than that, you do already have things out there working against you, Google AI and the Ziosk, that are going to be tricky to get around. So getting connections deep into those high corporate restaurants, but it's not so much of, you know, excelling the experience of the customer to the server, because respectfully, servers do not have time. We just don't. We have sections of 5 to 6 tables. So we don't respectfully have time to work with you at that table to understand your language. You need to be prepared with the items that you would like. We'll give you recommendations, but if something of that kind of barrier, it needs to be already locked in with the restaurant. So relying on the staff, relying on even on the management. I can tell if you were to be there last night, we had graduations, T-Mobile Arena, there is no time.
Yep.
So it's just something to really consider in the way of who are you targeting, why are you targeting them, and what those conversations look like.
No, and I would agree with you. Most of the restaurants that we picked up on are local restaurants or single local restaurants that don't have those sort of advantages of that kind of translation. I would also say though that one of the cautionary things we're telling people with our visitors is most of those people don't eat at the same times we do, and they take much longer to eat. So the thing is what we put in there is when you, like if you pick an item, there is a translation. You're looking at it in Spanish, for example, there is a translation, at least they can point to it and say they can tell in English what they're asking for. And we do, again, we have all those dietary and religious notices in there, so you can sort of pare that down. I don't know any other way to speed that up. If they don't speak the language and they want to eat, I think you're going to have to take a little time to interact with them. But I try to make it as quick as possible. That's why I put the translator in there. I have also had friends from other countries who say, these people speak English. So we'll see. I mean, I don't know, but I've also talked to folks in places where there's a lot more international travel than here that they would be useful to them, that they get a lot of people like on the coast, for example.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike. And then, so one last question. What can we as a community do for you?
What you're telling me is wonderful. This is all good, great stuff. I love the idea about the influencers, by the way. I really haven't tapped into that market at all. Find me somebody to work with and I'll let them run with it.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
Well, thank you everybody for your questions. We went a little bit over today, but it's hard to stop everybody when you all have so many great questions. So I will close this out quickly. You can connect with Mike there. I'll put this back up on the screen once I'm done through. So if you are interested in presenting, you can also scan this QR code. You can also go to the 1 Million Cups website. There's a tab at the top that says present, and then you can go and fill out an application there. You can also talk to myself or any one of the organizers in the back as well as soon as we're done today. Thank you all for coming. There are some of the samples in the back, so please help yourself. Thank you.